What's up, Porters? It's Cause, and today we're breaking down your very first combat encounter in Death Stranding 2. This is that beginner's beginner guide for the basic combat you get from the jump of the game, but also it's just a refresher for the extent of the combat, the bare bones combat for people who have played plenty of Death Stranding. This is not a deep dive into advanced combat. This is the very first combat encounter in the game after we accept the mission from Fragile, where we're headed to the Ciudad Nudo del Norte. Literally, it's like 3 super easy combat tangos here in this section, unless we set off the alarm, which we'll do later intentionally. But let's go ahead and talk about the way I'm going to set up this video. We're going to start by talking about managing your bars, so important in combat, and really just a huge mechanic in the game, endurance, stamina, and your unconsciousness bars. Then we're going to go through some stealth mechanics and tips. We'll talk about hand-to-hand combat tips, and then we'll go through basically going loud with your machine gun mechanics and tips for that as well. And you probably know they do tell you plenty. It's just a lot to sort through in your corpus, and they don't do that thing where other games do, where they kind of show you the like a video of how it works, particularly things like parrying and things like that. It's really, I think, important for games to show like a video of how that works. You can see for a lot of these combat little snippets in your corpus, it's all the same. It's all the same image. It doesn't really help that much. So I wanted to break it down for you, and let's get right into it. So section 1 is managing your bars, endurance, stamina, and unconsciousness. So you'll see right away there's a red bar there. That's our blood bar. We don't have to worry too much about that because it's all non-lethal rounds, trying to avoid void outs, of course, us and them. So we're not going to worry too much about that blood bar. Eventually we'll talk about the unconsciousness bar there, but we're going to talk about that light blue bar below it. That is your endurance bar. So your endurance bar is your short-term burst meter. Things like dodging. I'll go over all of this in a little bit. Things like dodging and particularly jump kicks, those have a huge impact on your endurance meter. So kind of think of your endurance meter as your turbo meter. You can't just mash, jump kick, and dodge endlessly, because when you do, you'll stop being able to use or effectively use some pretty basic mechanics for combat. Now, underneath that bar, you can see there's actually another bar. It's that dark blue bar. That's your stamina bar. I'm not going to touch a lot upon that. It's not huge for combat. It's more like the kind of drain you get after long trips with huge cargo. It is important to note, though, that if you did get into a combat encounter and your stamina bar is low, that means your endurance bar won't be able to pull as much. Basically, your endurance depends on your stamina. So think of your stamina as your fuel tank. Manage it or you'll gas out. Let's talk about refilling those two things. Again, with endurance being the more important one, all you have to do is just chill for a second. If you are low on your endurance, all you need to do is stay still for a moment and it'll get going and you'll be good to go. So that really is pretty friendly in combat. You won't have to like rest or run away for a long time, which is pretty good. In terms of your stamina, you can refill it with your canteen, just holding right on the D-pad and then going down here and equipping and drinking from your canteen. But again, you won't have to worry too much about stamina. Now, let's talk about the knockdown threshold or the yellow bar. So I'm going to go say hello to our friend over here, and he's going to help me show you that unconsciousness bar, and we'll kind of talk about how that works. So these guys all have rods, sort of electricity rods, and that's what they're going to use on us. And I'm just going to show you like what happens when he hits me. You see that yellow bar now? That's my unconsciousness bar, or my knockout threshold. Basically, they're doing damage right now, but it's not making me bleed. It's just getting me closer and closer to knocking out. Ooh, that one got me good. And so eventually what'll happen when they, fully knock me out is, all my materials will go to the mule and I'll be brought to the dump. And I'll show you that before we move on to talking about stealth mechanics. But essentially, getting knocked out means you drop your cargo, the fight's over. most early knockouts happen because people burn endurance too fast or drain stamina. So you lose fights when you panic, burn your energy, and get overwhelmed. So manage your bars and stay on your feet, baby. Another quick thing about your endurance bar is that you get an adrenaline boost when you go into combat. So you can see outside of the combat area out here, I have 3 endurance/stamina bars. But as soon as I go into the combat area, I get an adrenaline boost. And you can see that now that I've got 4 bars. Alright, let's move on to our second section, the basic early game stealth mechanics, and we're going to start with scouting. So, one of the most important tips I always give on any stealth game is the importance of scouting. Stealth, in my opinion, is way more satisfying if you put in that little bit of prep time and make a plan, and it helps you really pull it off in a way that just feels so damn good. So, scouting, hugely important. You can tap L1 to just get your aura deck to sort of scan the general area. The aura deck, that's our sort of tech that helps us scout. You can also hold L1, that's what you're definitely going to want to do, and this will kind of show you a bit more and allow you to mark Tango. So I'm going to press R3 to zoom in, and you can see when you hover over a Tango, it'll tell you a little bit about it. It's a Bandit Grunt. It's like the easiest Tango, I'm sure, in the game. And they've got an electric rod, so good for me to know, but later on in the game, knowing just how good the weapons your enemies have is a huge deal. It will definitely help you. So I was able to scout out 3 guys a minute ago, but there are some more here that we'll look at later. So that's your basic scouting with your aura deck. As we move a little bit closer, let's talk about alarms. If you get seen, if you fire your machine gun, etc., alarms will go off. They go off pretty quick, and the guys in the area will swarm you. And it's a pretty quick path to getting knocked out, trying to take on 4 or 5 guys at once. Alright, next let's talk about crouching. Obviously we're in tall grass. You can press R1 to crouch. That helps with visibility in terms of not being seen. Also, it makes it easier to sort of and more quiet to sneak up on tangos, just like all of your other sort of basic stealth mechanics of any other game. Let's talk about the weapons available for you now. By holding right on the D-pad, you kind of go to your weapons wheel. You can see we've got 2, the Mazer handgun, that's our stealth one, and you're also, from the get-go, you get your assault rifle at MP level 1. But we're going to focus on the Mazer handgun. This electrocutes close-range targets, and you need to hold the trigger down. So let's go ahead and use the Mazer on our first Tango here. Now, the thing to know with the Mazer is that it doesn't matter for these guys if you hit them in the head or not, or just the body. It's also important to kind of understand and appreciate the range, because it'll show you when you're out of range. Like, something far away, you'll get that little yellow thing, and it'll be like, nope, not in range, but this guy definitely is range. I'm going to just hold L2 to aim, hold R2 to charge, let go of R2, and we got him. And any time in this game where there's that sort of slowdown, that tells you got a KO. Alright, next let's talk about our Strand. We're going to go back to our weapons wheel, and we're going to go to the sort of diagonally left and down, and we get our Strand. Strand is one of my favorite tools. It's very satisfying when it comes to stealth. Even in hand-to-hand combat, your Strand parry is pretty great. So let's get our next Tango with this, and there are a couple ways you can stealth kill with your Strand. Circle is the mechanic that the game tells you, so we'll use that. And we're getting closer, so I'm slowing down here. And you'll get that little prompt, bind with Strand. Boom, you got this guy knocked out, no problem at all. So that's your Strand. Super helpful, super quiet, super great. The other thing you can do is approach a Tango holding L2 with your Strand equipped, and then when you press R2, it'll also do a stealth KO. Alright, I'm going to pick up this. You don't need to, but you just do that by holding R2, because I'm going to show you another stealth way you can kill, but I'm also going to go over and get this guy's... Oh, that's cool. I'm just realizing, too, you can hold R1 now and, like, cover your breath so you're really quiet, but obviously that has a big impact on your endurance meter. What I was trying to do is actually stand up, because I want to get this guy's electric rod to show you. I'm going to equip that, and I'm also going to get this climbing anchor by just holding R2, and we're going to knock out our next guy. I don't know why you necessarily want to do this, but it is an option just in case you're in a situation. It's kind of good for hand-to-hand combat too, but basically if you have a container that you don't care that much about, and you go up to a tango and get close and just press circle, you can knock him out. It destroys whatever's in the container, like it's unusable, but just another way to knock guys out. Alright, let's go over a third way to knock guys out. I'm going to show you that you can do this with the electrical rod here, but you can actually, I wouldn't necessarily call it stealth. If anyone's around, it's definitely going to alert them, and the Strand and Mazer are more stealthy, of course, but, you know, this is kind of a satisfying way to also knock guys out without them seeing you. But essentially, you just have to hit circle 3 times. You basically have to pull off a combo. I'm going to do it with my laser stick, but you can also just do it with your fists. But here we go. 1. Oh, with the laser one, I guess you only have to do it once. That's great. If it's your fist, you have to do it 3 times. But there you go. That's the basic ways to knock guys out with stealth mechanics. That's cool that the electric rod will just one time pressing circle will knock them out. Alright, let's go into section 3, our sort of foundational hand-to-hand combat beginner right out of the box tutorial. And that starts with a tip, which is to equip your Strand for hand-to-hand combat. This is assuming you don't have an electric rod or something like that. And that's because this is a really effective way to parry, and I'll show you how to do that a little bit later. But let's go over some more basic mechanics. So I'm going to put my Strand away, but it's my quick equip, so if I just hit right on the D-pad on PlayStation 5, I can take it out or put it away. And Strand's basic combat mechanic is a 3-hit combo, or just hitting circle, you know, for a punch, but then you can string that together for a 3-hit combo, punch, punch, kick, and you can string that combo together with the exact same one and keep going like that. Now, the problem with attacking in this way is that if you just go in fist flying, you are going to run up against their guard. Like, for this guy in particular, he's got that electric rod, which basically means he can block for a long time before you have a vulnerability window. So let's talk about the 3 best ways to break Mule and Bandit guards. So the first way I'm going to talk about how to break their guard is a jump kick. The jump kick is quite simply jump and then attack, or X and then circle on PlayStation 5. And it does open a nice vulnerability window. So I'll get this dude's attention, and then I'll start walking up to him and press jump and kick at the same time. You can see that stuns him. That's a big vulnerability window for me to kick some in. So I'll do it again, and I'll follow it up with a punch, and he's out. So the next best way to break guard, let me pick this up real quick, actually. So it's equipped. I actually don't want that. Just bear with me here for a second. I'm going to get my Strand equipped. I'm going to put it away. And then we're going to do a body slam. It's the same thing. You're just going to do X and then R1. And you can see X and then R1 in quick succession knocks them actually, like, on their back. I'll do it for this guy, too. Oop, missed. You got me, though. Now, the thing about a body slam is it does take a lot of endurance. So he's out. I'm going to go over to him, and then there's an instant knockout when I press circle. So the third way to break guard is to do a tackle. Now, in order to tackle, you're just going to go into block mode, which is holding L2 and R2 at the same time. And then when you get a chance, you're going to press attack or circle. And what that will do is you can see that guy, he's stunned pretty good. I'll do it to this guy too. You're holding block, and then you press circle. And it's really more of a bull rush than a tackle. And then once you have him in that stun state, you can knock him out. So I'm going to pause there, Well, actually, that's a good point. Let me kind of show you what it looks like to try and... I want him to block, so you can kind of see, like, trying to break his guard is not easy. See those, like, sort of sparks flying? That tells you, you know, that's his guard that we're trying to break. So next we're going to talk about defense. So defense basically consists of blocking, dodging, and parrying in 2 different ways. So, like I said, in order for you to do the bull rush or the tackle, you need to be in block mode. So, block mode can be just holding L2, just holding R2, but typically what I like to do is I hold L2, and that gets you in this sort of partial block. You can hold L2 and R2, and that will be more of a full block. And you can kind of see that it mitigates quite a bit of the knockout threshold when I do it. Like, that's doing some knockout threshold damage, but not like that much. So that's blocking. And out of blocking, you can very easily, you know, do your tackle, and that's good to know. So now let's talk about avoiding, which you can do by holding L2 or R2, but again, I usually just keep L2 held and press X. That's how you dodge. Oh, excuse me. Maybe you have to press L2 and R2. Yeah, you have to press L2 and R2. You can just press L2. But I think the most effective way to dodge is L2 and R2, and then when they swing, you just press X. Now, this is a good way because it's easy enough to do. If you're just holding, if your knockout threshold is really low and you need to get it back, this is a good way to do it. I mean, you can try and run away, but you can also just block and press and do dodging, and you can see I got my knockout threshold back pretty well. All right, let's move on to parrying. So there are 2 ways to parry. I'm going to show you the way to parry with the Strand because it's the easiest and most effective. Now, after the Strand, I'll show you the other way to parry, but I'm not sure I have it totally figured out. You're going to have to hit me up in the comments to make sure I have it right. So let's get our Strand out, and we're going to hold L2. And this is nice because the other reason I really like the Strand is it kind of keeps you oriented. You know, it kind of keeps you in this sort of battle stance. Now, the thing about when you have your Strand, if you try and dodge, it, you know, like, it's more of a dive, so just keep that in mind. It is a little bit more, leaves you exposed. But all you're going to do is you're going to hold L2, and right when he starts swinging and is about to hit, you're going to press R2. And that will do a parry. And the game is pretty forgiving with this window, even though I'm clearly struggling with it. But, like, it'll show up at the bottom of your screen when it's time to press it. And you'll know it worked because it sort of sends him past you. And then after you do that, you can walk up to him and press circle, and you'll bind him. You'll knock him out. So that's how you parry with the Strand. Let's talk about parrying without the Strand. So I'm going to put the Strand away, and it's the same thing. I'm going to press L2, and then as soon as his strike hits, or just before, I'm going to press R2. And see how things slow down like that? That's the other way to parry, I think. There have been some times where I've done it where I felt like it actually opened up a much bigger window, but that slows things down enough that if you effectively parry, what it will do is and you see that slowdown, then you can start attacking. His vulnerability window is open in that bit of slowdown. And there's a knockout. So that's parrying, that's hand-to-hand combat. I really hope that helps. Let's move on to the 4th section. Okay, let's move into our last section. This is all about going loud with our machine gun and going over some of those foundational tactics and strategies just to get you oriented to the basic combat mechanics of the game. So let's go ahead and start by equipping our assault rifle in our weapon wheel. Now, a couple things right off the bat here. Like most games, when you're going loud, there are some things that you really always pretty much want to do, golden rule type stuff. So crouch and be in cover. You don't want to just be out in the open, exposed to, you know, being vulnerable from every angle. And from here, what you actually can do, and the game allows you to do, is if you get close enough and you're sort of looking right at it, you can see the option to climb or pop out, and L2 allows you to pop out and pop down right in and out of cover, which is pretty great. And of course, flanking is another really important strategy if you're going to go loud, if you're feeling bogged down, to get out and get around and try and get them from another angle. One other thing to keep in mind is that while you're aiming, you can press X in a direction and sort of dive into cover. So if I was attacking over here and then another guy started attacking me from over here, I could sort of dive into cover by just, while holding aim, pressing X in a direction. Another thing to note is that you can actually do melee attacks with your gun equipped, and it'll just equip and unequip in between melee attacks and whatnot. So just in case you want to string something together. Alright, let's go ahead and get started, and the thing I'll tell you is that the biggest gift you're going to get from this game, or one of the big gifts, is that when you get seen, time slows down. And that's incredibly helpful if you're kind of going loud, if you're sort of deciding to go loud. Now, part of going loud might be engaging everyone at once, but if you're sort of wanting to timing it here, you can see I'll get this guy's attention, and things slow down. And you can aim and just try and, of course, get more headshots than I did. But then there you go. You got your takedown, you got your knockout, and the good thing about doing it that way too, even though they can hear the machine gun and it puts them on alert, it doesn't actually get them all running up on you, which is pretty great, because now when the next guy sees you, he's also going to go into that like slow down mode. Someone saw me. Where is this guy? See, slow down mode. I'm going to do my best to just take him out in that time. So now this is what I'm kind of talking about with the flanking. So they see me, he knows where I am. But I'm not, when he sees me again, I'm not going to get that handy dandy, well, that didn't take too long before Zordek tracker to change, but you can see that's like the effect of being in cover and popping out of cover. And I did a little bit of flanking there. So that just kind of gives you a taste of what's effective when going loud. This isn't the best time to be getting really good at going loud. There will be better times later in the game where you just have way more tools. But that's at least a little bit of a tutorial on early game going loud. I hope this helped. As always, like and subscribe. Half of anything I ever make from YouTube goes to a charity we choose every few months. Alright, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and I will see you next time.